Hey guys, Michael Corsentino for Shutter Magazine. This month we're looking at one light portraits, and this is kicking off a series where occasionally I will examine just how awesome and amazing, all the amazing and awesome things that you can do using just one light. So I thought a great way to kick it off would be these part of an ongoing series that I'm doing on veterans. These portraits are all made with one light. And are a good example of what you can accomplish using just one light. So let's dig right in. One other thing that that we talked about in the article this month was a portable studio. So I just want to reiterate how I love the fact that I made these portraits in kind of a funky restaurant, the back room of a restaurant that was really nothing to look at, and with a bunch of collapsible tools like the collapsible backdrop, a collapsible reflector, collapsible softbox, tripod that folds down to nothing, a laptop, etc. Everything was pretty much collapsible except me. I am working on that. I was able to transform this funky old restaurant into a kind of a black box studio to create these portraits, which is pretty cool. I like being able to do that. It's pretty awesome that you can have a studio wherever you go. All right, so let's dig in and take a look at this portrait and how we created what we did with the lighting. And we will look at a bird's eye view, a lighting diagram in a minute, but I just kind of want to take a look at the front view now and talk about some of what went on. So we talked about in the article about the height of the softbox, which is something that sometimes doesn't get really gone over. It's all about position and angle and stuff, but the height is super important as well. So just so we are on the same page here in terms of the height, this is about where the bottom of the softbox was, right about in line with the shoulder. And that allowed a fall off down here of light as well. And it put the hot spot right up around here, which is much better than having it here, because I wanted a nice bit of contrast, but I didn't want to blast my subject with light. And it also gave me a good catch light right there. I didn't want to just cover that up. Let's go back right there, and we can zoom in a little bit and take a look at that. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that. All right. The other thing that I wanted contrast, which is why I placed the light over on the camera right side of the subject, and basically creating a split light. Right. So I've got all this part of the subject in light, and the left side is falling into shadow, but I didn't want it to be completely dark, so I placed a reflector right over here to blast some light back in and open up the shadows there, because I wanted all these patches and everything in here lit up, and that's great detail and all of that. And one thing to note is the shadow from the nose here. Now, typically, that shadow would bother me, but in this case, it really didn't. These are not beauty portraits. Oftentimes you want the shadow to fall down here in a kind of Rembrandt fashion, but that really did not bother me in this case. Rules are made to be broken, and it's on a case-by-case basis. But if this were a beauty portrait, it's something that wasn't going for just a kind of stark, dramatic look, then that might be a consideration. All right, we can get rid of all of that. And let's take a look at the bird's eye view of this, the overhead view, and we can talk a little bit more about some of the other feathering. Now, that technique where I had the softbox up by the subject's shoulder, in line with the shoulder, the bottom of the softbox, that's essentially feathering, because what I'm doing is I'm working with the edges of the softbox, and I'm allowing the light, the softer part of the light, right in the center of the softbox is going to be the really harsh light, like I said, the hot spot, and that's not ideal. I mean, ideally you want to work with the softer area, which is what feathering is all about. So we're doing the same thing here by placing the softbox in front of the subject, rather than, what you might think is the typical position would be here. I'm working on it right here, okay? So that this is kind of the light that I'm getting, and the harshest bit of light is here, but the softer light is there. And the same thing is happening on the bottom of the softbox as well. So all around, I'm working with a softer quality of light, which is really what I wanted. I wanted a little bit of crispness and a little bit of drama, which is why I used a silver reflector to come back in here. They're male subjects. Male subjects can withstand that kind of a reflector. If it was a female subject, I probably would have, most definitely would have not used silver unless I was doing some kind of a fashion thing maybe. But more often than not, I would be using a white reflector if it was female subjects. But since male subjects, was perfect for this subject matter. Gave me a bit of crispness, a bit of specularity and contrast, which I really wanted in the shadow area. And by virtue of kind of combining those two with keeping the lighting soft for my key light by virtue of feathering, but by getting contrast because I was using side lighting, creating that split lighting effect. Again, splitting it like that, so keeping light on this side and shadow on this side, but keeping the shadows a little bit open with this reflector. I was able to kind of achieve the look that I was interested in. Okay, one thing that we did not cover in the article, which I really want to mention, is the background. Okay, the background is this black background here, collapsible black background. But oftentimes you can have difficulty keeping a background black or white in another case. And we'll cover that in future articles. But in this case, I wanted a pitch black background. So one of the key things to maintaining that darkness of that background is distance from the subject and distance from the light and the angle of the light. If this were closer to the background and the angle of the light was this way, which a lot of times you will do, it would be casting light on that background and lighting it up. There would be spill from the light on there, and I did not want that. So that's one of the other reasons, one of the other considerations for the placement of the light, the angle of the light, and the placement of the subject and the light in relation to the background. So definitely things to consider. Moving that subject away from the background and angling the light really were key in keeping that background pitch black. Okay, excellent. So let's move on to one other thing. In the article I talked about strip light. I didn't have a strip light with me at that point, and I wanted one. This was just it's a Westcott softbox and Apollo, and it's a more rectangular shape than the strip light. I didn't have a strip light with me, so I had some craft paper and some gaff tape, and I just kind of made one ad hoc there and created a strip box, which allowed me to do these kind of cool portraits, profile portraits. And the profile, the strip box allowed me to just kind of create this cool sliver of light right there. Yeah, right. Instead of, if the box did not have that sliver, I'd have a much broader coverage of light. Okay, so basically, think creatively on your feet if you don't have something. There's typically oftentimes a way that you can kind of jury rig things and come up with something cool and creative in the field. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this month's feature. I hope you've enjoyed it, and look forward to doing more of these one light wonders. So come on back, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.